Hi, welcome everyone. Hi. Welcome to the Triangle Center for Spiritual Living. Is there anyone who is visiting us, is a guest for the very first time? Ooh, she's waving her hand, loud and proud. I am a visitor, yay! And we also have another visitor. So for those of you who do not know me or do not know me very well, since we just met 2 minutes ago, my name is Reverend Dusty. I am the spiritual director of this amazing community. We are part of a larger organization called Centers for Spiritual Living, which just simply means that we believe that there is one God. We believe that this one God is benevolent, that this one God is everywhere at all times, that it is not some God off on some cloud that doles out punishments and rewards at whim, but really a presence, a power and presence that is within us. This power and presence is creative. It created everything that there is, and since we were created in its image and likeness, then we too have this ability to create. And what we believe here is that we actually create the experiences of our lives, that our thoughts, our feelings, our beliefs have power, and that we create the experiences of our lives. So while that might be a load of responsibility, you might be feeling in this moment, what it is actually really the really good news, because that means that if you don't like the experience that you're having, that the mind that created it is the mind that can recreate it, the mind that can change it. So we gather together multiple times throughout the week to support each other on this spiritual path, to love each other up, and to do spiritual practice together, knowing that whenever two or more are gathered, that there's a power that's present there. So we're very, very glad that both of you have joined us today. And we're also glad for all of you that are at home that have invited us into your living room today, knowing that, you could be having breakfast in bed or you could be out on a walk, but instead you are tuned in to us. And I'm very appreciative of that. So thank you very much for being here.
The readings for today are from Ernest Holmes and Sophia Loren. Believe it. And hers is really good. Ernest Holmes says, "In truth, there is no beginning or end, for there was never a commencement of life in the eternal, and there will never be an ending. And age is man's measure of a period of experience." Sophia Loren says, "There is a fountain of youth. It is your mind, your talents, the creativity you bring to your life, and the lives of the people you love. When you learn to tap this source, you will truly have defeated age."
How old are you? How old are you? How many times do you think that you've been asked that question over the course of a lifetime? What did you feel when you heard the question? How did you answer the question? Did you tell the truth, or maybe did you fudge just a year or two when you answered it? I always think it's kind of funny that when we were younger, we always wanted to be older. In fact, we would always tack on a year or two so that we could do something that we really wanted to do, or so that we would look older in someone else's eyes. We couldn't wait until we were an adult so that we could experience all that we thought that meant, all that we thought that was going to afford us. Yes? Now that we're older, we're often tempted to take off a year or two. That celebrate the 29th birthday for the 29th time. For myself, I kind of tend to go the other way, and I know that there are other people in this room that do the same because I've heard you do it. So for me, I more than likely, if I'm halfway to my next birthday, I more often will say that I'm that age already. So if you were to ask me today, how old are you? I probably would in all sincerity say that I was 65. When you're asked that question, how old are you? Do you tend to tell your chronological age, or do you state the age that you feel? Now again, for me, if I say that I'm 65, when in actuality I'm still really only 64, I'm not saying I'm 65 because I feel 65. I don't even know what that means. How do you feel a particular age? What does it feel like to feel a particular age? I'm sure that if we were to ask anybody in this room, that we would get a whole bunch of different answers for that same, for being around the same amount of time, right? Now, it is said that we're only as old as we feel. You're only as old as you feel, and now research is really backing this belief up. Many studies that have been conducted report that those people who feel younger than they actually are have a better life expectancy. Two researchers at the University College in London looked at the responses of 6,500 men and women who were asked the question, how old do you feel you are? How old do you feel you are? Now, about 75% said that they felt 3 or more years younger than what they were. 25% said that they felt about their age, and 5% felt that they were at least 1 or 2 or more years older. 8 years after they got those original responses, they did some more research to determine which ones were still alive. Now, 75% of those who felt they were older than their actual age, 82% of those who felt they were their age, and 86% of those who felt they were younger than their age were still alive. So your answer to that question, how old are you, affects your experience of aging. Yes? Now think about this for a minute. What age would you say that we become old? What age do we become old? Now, I would imagine that we would have just as many different answers as we did with that other question, right? Now, you can become a member of AARP at 50. At 50, they consider that you're a senior. Is that old? We can legally get our Social Security at age 62. Is that old? I love you guys. Your answer to that question, what age do we become old, affects your experience of aging. According to a Pew Research Center study about growing old in America, the youngest group of respondents said that they felt that you became old at 60. The average respondents stated that we become old at 68. Whew, I still have a couple more years. Now, other markers reported by the different participants in this study stated that you become old when you can no longer live independently. That you become old when you can no longer drive a car. You become old when you forget familiar names. What was your name again? Oh my God, I'm in a heap of trouble. Or you become old when your health begins to fail. Now, even a small number answered that once a person has grandchildren, sorry, Terry, you become old. Or when you have gray hair. You become old. Say it isn't so. Now, the bottom line is that if we accept the belief that we are only as old as we feel, then we will act younger, feel younger, and actually appear. We will look younger. Our energy will be upbeat and our attitude will be modern. We will tend to stay abreast of current trends. We adapt to changes in technology better, and we generally keep up with the younger generation. This concept of how we feel about our age is important and in a way really defines how we act. If we self-define ourselves as old, then that's probably going to be the way we're going to act. It's important, the answer to this question. Now, it is also said that age is just a number, but aging is a state of mind. That we know that getting older is inevitable, but aging doesn't have to be that way. It doesn't have to be that way. That chronologically we age each and every day, each and every year, but mentally how we age is up to us. We have a choice in how we age because our minds control our attitudes, our thoughts, our beliefs, our words, and our actions. And our attitudes, our thoughts, our beliefs, our words, and our actions affect our experience of aging. Now, our beliefs can keep us young if we let go of all of those old, worn-out beliefs that we have and choose to adopt new life-affirming beliefs. Some of those beliefs are even about aging themselves. If you really think about it, we have been taught throughout our lifetimes what this aging process is supposed to look like. And many of us have bought into it. But it doesn't have to look that way. There have been people throughout time that have proven that it doesn't have to follow a certain process, doesn't have to look a certain way. Here at the Triangle Center for Spiritual Living, we believe that we live our lives from the inside out, that our thoughts, our beliefs, and our feelings create our experiences. Dr. Christine Northrup, in an article called Being Glorious at Every Age, says we begin to transform from aging to ageless when we realize that the truths we have always believed about getting older are not truths at all, but rather beliefs that we have come to accept as the truth. Really. Our thoughts can keep us young by being open-minded, by releasing rigidity, by being adaptable, by changing and learning new ways of doing things, by going with the flow, or by being willing to change. We really appear old to ourselves and to others when we are fixed in our opinions, when we're all caught up in the past, or when we get lost in our limited perspectives. Reverend Dr. Ken Gordon, who is the spiritual director of Centers for Spiritual Living, says, age is nothing more than a mindset that we have placed into action and activity in our lives. And we have the ability to not be controlled or restricted by it. There is a saying that says, don't let age be your cage. It's a good one, I think. Now, how old are you can be a question that we ask ourselves on the physical side of life, but it could also be a question that we can ask ourselves on the spiritual side of life. Clearly, we all of us on that physical side of life age and mature physically throughout our lives. But spiritual maturity is not guaranteed. Sorry. Spiritual growth or maturity doesn't just happen. It requires attention, intention, time, and effort. It is the gradual process of developing healthy and life-giving ways of relating to ourselves, to others, and to our environment. Spiritual growth or maturity is a process of inner awareness. It's a process of inner transformation. It means the rising of our consciousness beyond the ordinary experience into an awareness and an awakening of some universal truths or some spiritual truths. Spiritual growth or maturity is a shedding of all of the thoughts, feelings, beliefs, and ideas that no longer serve us, and becoming more and more conscious of, more and more aware of the inner being within us, that spark of the divine, that place where humanity and divinity meet. Now, as I was preparing for this message, I came across many, many different articles that talk about the signs and symptoms of spiritual maturity by many different authors. So, like Ernest Holmes, I thought that maybe what I would do would be to synthesize some of it and share it with you this morning in a way that is understandable and in a way that you can embody in practical ways. So, number one, the lives of those who are spiritually mature are guided by a set of principles and values. So they consciously choose to develop life habits consistent with the qualities of spirit: love, peace, joy, kindness, compassion, reverence, awe, integrity, and love. They seek to live out these values in all areas of their life, in all relationships of their lives. Number two, people who are spiritually mature maintain a childlike sense of wonder. Too many of us stop being amazed by life as we were growing and developing into these responsible adults. The spiritually mature see wonder and beauty in everything that they do and in everything that they experience. Number three, people who are spiritually mature practice personal responsibility. As our physical body ages, the spiritually mature check in from time to time to be sure that the thoughts and the feelings, the beliefs, the actions that they choose are in alignment with the highest and best for their body, their mind, and their spirit. The spiritually mature person is more than likely to engage in personal reflection as a regular practice. This allows them to root out old hidden beliefs and motivations that they may have for doing the things that they do, saying the things that they say, believing the things that they believe. The spiritually mature person takes responsibility for the creation of the experiences of their lives without placing blame on anything outside of themselves. Number four, people who are spiritually mature accept themselves just as they are. Our inner critic, that voice that is always has something to say about who we are or about what we're doing, that voice that is constantly judging us, can prevent us from spiritually maturing. Listening to it can hinder our ability to hear that inner voice within us, that still small voice of the divine. It makes it hard for us to actually be really present, to be and stay really loving, to be and stay really positive in any given moment. Spiritually mature people listen for and to their own inner wisdom. Number five, people who are spiritually mature understand that everyone walks their own path. As we spiritually mature, we begin to realize that everyone is in the perfect place on their own journey. It's not our job to judge any other, nor is it our job to tell them what to do. We can, however, choose to support them, encourage them, and love them along the way. Number 6, people who are spiritually mature become collaborative rather than competitive. Spiritually mature people know that we live in an abundant universe, that there is more than enough to go around, that we do not have to be in competition with each other in order to get our needs met. They understand that we achieve more when we do it together, when we do it in harmony with one another. That who we are and the actions that we take in service to the world are an opportunity to raise each other up. To raise each other up, to lift others, to celebrate others, to support others, to encourage others. The spiritually mature know that this is a gift that can be given to the world through and as love. Number 7, people who are spiritually mature are at peace with what cannot be changed. The spiritually immature worry themselves to death over things that cannot be changed. The spiritually mature learn to let go of what they have no control over so that they can put their focus on what can be changed. As in the serenity prayer says, God grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, the courage to change the things that I can, and the wisdom to know the difference. And lastly, number 8, people who are spiritually mature let go of the need to be right. In each, that's a hard one for you guys? That's why I saved it for last. I didn't want anybody to leave. So, in each and every situation, we have a choice in the matter. We can choose love, or we can choose to be right. We can choose peace, or we can choose to be right. The spiritually mature person recognizes that they do not always know or have a complete understanding of the world, that there's very many different ways to view the world and not just one way to live in it. They choose to let go of the need to be right in order for they themselves to be the space and place of unconditional love. And then when they do that, they experience that peace that passes all understanding. This doesn't mean that you have to become a doormat. Spiritually mature people are not doormats. It simply means that they're choosing instead to follow the spiritual truth that love is all there is. When we are grounded in the truth of who we are, in alignment with the spark of the divine within us, we live our lives with authority. When we create the experiences of our lives from that place where humanity and divinity meet that is within us, we are powerful beyond belief. When we listen to our inner wisdom and choose not to follow someone else's beliefs, whether those beliefs are familial, societal, tribal, or archetypal, we march to our own tune, to our own beat. Life is what we make it, always from the inside out and not from the outside in. We are just as old as we think we are, no matter how many years that we've been on the planet. Just like we have a choice how to answer that question, how old are you? We have an opportunity to choose whether we wish to follow a path towards spiritual maturity or not. Spiritual growth and maturity is the birthright of everyone, but we have to do the inner work. And then once we do the inner work, we have to be willing to express that inner divinity that is within us outwardly. We have to be willing to share it with everyone. For me, I know beyond a shadow of a doubt that this is the key to really living a life of peace, joy, power, and love. Every step that we take towards reaching a higher level of consciousness raises our own vibrational level and therefore raises the vibrational level of the planet. And I can tell you that that bodes well for all of us, no matter how old we are. And so it is. So please turn within. Please turn within. In this moment, I recognize the one Spirit, the one life, the one power, the one creative energy back of everything that there is seen and unseen. I know that it is the very essence of peace, joy, creativity, abundance, wisdom, and unconditional love. I know that I was created by it in its image and likeness, that right where I am, God is in its fullness, like the ocean of the thing and yet not the thing, for the thing is so much grander. And I know this just can't be true for just me, that if it's true for me, it has to be true for everyone. And so that I know that it is true for each and every person here this morning. Each of us is a unique and divine expression of God. And it is from that place that I speak this word of prayer for each of us this morning, truly knowing that we are spiritual beings having a human incarnation. That we have within us this spark of the divine. That as we align ourselves with it, we live our lives with authority. We are more powerful than we could even imagine. We create lives that we love to live. We create a world that works for everyone. I claim and know for each of us ease and grace around powerfully stepping into this life. For recognizing that we are as old as we believe we are. That we do not have to listen to anyone else's beliefs, but we can stand firmly grounded in our own truth. That we do not have to age in a particular way. We can age in our own way. And I claim for each of us today that that is graceful, joyful. I claim for each of us that this idea of spiritual maturity is something that we can also step into with ease and with grace, that we are all here in this community to support each other on that path, that we are walking this journey not alone but together as a community. So I claim ease and grace around that, around being all that we were created to be, and shining that light brightly, knowing that our shining our light brightly allows others to do the same. And that vibration just carries on and on and on. Who knows where it could end? And I'm so grateful to know this truth and to speak these words. So grateful for the power of prayer, knowing that these words are loosed into a law that only ever says yes. That they are clothed in form even as they are spoken. And so I speak them into that law with committed expectation of their manifestation, letting go and letting God be God. And I invite each of us to anchor this prayer for ourselves and for each other simply by saying, and so it is, and so it is. Amen. Amen.